team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to Blue Sunday. My name is Joe Luzza and I'm coming to you from a hot Bangkok. It's 38 degrees and about 95% humidity. And as usual, joining me back in the studio there in sunny Melbourne. Is it sunny there, Vince?
It was pretty sunny today, Joe, but is it ever anything other than hot and humid in Bangkok, Thailand? It always seems to be hot and humid there.
No, Anyway,
Yeah,
so
good,
as I'm sorry, I didn't give you your full introduction, Vince.
Oh, don't worry. Me, everyone knows me by now. You don't have to give me a big full introduction.
Former president of the Carltonians. How much did you have to pay to become the president?
No, I was elected by the members of the Carltonians to be president. Thank you, but
I find that hard.
It's not like politics, Joe, where you got to pay your way to get up the top.
Anyway, not to worry.
It's all Vince, about what you give, not what you take.
Let's just get a little bit of the formalities out the way. So, as you know, we are a Facebook and YouTube show. So, I would ask the people to like, subscribe, and share. So, on Facebook, you can find us at Blue Sunday or at The Jumper Punch, and we are on the Jumper Punch channel. Also, this show is proudly sponsored. I was going to say sponsored by my company here in Thailand. I don't know what sponsored means. Retired Working for You Tours. So there's a few shots that we've on. So if you want to look at our website, it's rw4utours.com. And if you want to email me ever, info@rw4utours.com. Also, people, if you would like to be part of the show, we encourage your involvement, participation. You can agree, disagree. So please feel free to make some comments in the comment box.
Yes,
and
please do.
We'll endeavour to try and answer most of the questions, Vince. We won't be able to answer all of them as, you and I and our special comments man will have a bit to say.
Yes.
So we'll go from there. Hey, speaking of that, in the background, we have a special person who joins us every week, 1987 Premiership player, Norm Smith medalist, Mr. David Rhys-Jones. How are you tonight, David?
Yeah, great to be here. Undefeated after 4 games. I don't know when the last time that happened. I'd say about 95 when we won the last Premierships. Probably.
In fact, you're right.
Mark, but,
100%.
Yeah, no, fantastic to get off. And while it wasn't a great game of football yesterday, it was a great result in the end. And they found a way again. They just keep finding a way to win.
That's the good
thing.
Hey, before we get to the game, there's some news. We'll get David's comments on this. David's been reported that Jeremy Finlayson has been suspended for 15 games for a homophobic slur. Now, this is unconfirmed, but it's on the Channel 7 news site. So apparently Tom Brown has got pretty good info. If that's true, what do you think, David?
It's an absolute joke if that's true. It's it's just ridiculous. And
if they had that penalty in your day, Rhys, no one would have enough players to fill the team.
No, you wouldn't have a game. You wouldn't have a game because it happened everywhere. It happened in every local game or whatever. And sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt you. It's just absolutely ridiculous. If that is, I don't think it is true, but hopefully it's not.
Well,
Tom Brown can come out with certain things that are not accurate at times with Channel 7, but sometimes they come out with this stuff to try and be the first with the story, and sometimes they get it wrong. I think John Ralph might have done that a few times too.
When you buy the paper, the only 2 things you can believe are the price and the date.
That's right.
Yeah, but I guess as we were saying off stage, that is just a reflection of today's society, isn't it? You can't do this and you can't do that. Anyway, we're not here to talk about society. We're here to talk about the mighty Blue Baggers. And Vince, if you'd like to go through the scores of yesterday's game.
Yes, indeed, Joe. It was a dour struggle, wasn't it? It was a real tug of war for the majority of the game. And in the end, Carlton prevailed 10-13, 73 to the Fremantle Dockers, 9 goals, 9, 63, a 10-point victory. And I don't know that the margin was ever at any stage more than a couple of goals. I think either side was never in front by. In fact, I think the margin that we had in the end was our greatest margin of the match. And Fremantle, I think, might have got up to 10 or 11 points in front at one stage, but it was never more than 2 goals away for either side. As you can see there by the quarter-by-quarter scores, both sides only kicked a couple of goals in the first quarter, only a 1-point margin to Freo at quarter time. Then they kicked 2 goals to 1. We were a little bit wasteful in the second quarter, kicking 1 goal 4. So they went in with a 3-point lead at halftime. Then they kicked 3 goals to 2. And again, we kicked another, 5 points, 2 goals, 5 in that third quarter. So we were a bit wasteful again. So they had a 9-point lead, in fact, at three-quarter time. But in the end, Carlton, when it mattered most, had the kicking boots on and kicked 5 goals 3 to 2 goals 2 in the last, and turned it around with about 4.5 minutes to go. I think we were 9 points behind, maybe 9 or 10 points behind, and of course kicked the last 3 goals of the game to end up winning by 10 points. So it was one of those games where you just knew it was going to go down to the wire. And from my personal perspective, I think it was an absolute shame and a pity that the whole game had to be determined in the end by umpiring decisions, one of which was incorrect and another one was based on dissent. Yet again, it sort of touches on the same topic that you just went through with the Jeremy Finlayson situation. Everyone seems to be offended by everything these days, and a few harsh words or a few words of frustration when incorrect decisions are made come back and bite you in the backside these days. So Fremantle found that out the hard way.
Oh, well, he won't be saying that again. Vince, let's just go through a few of the major stats and then we'll get David's take on the game.
Yeah, well, look, these are the stats that we pick out on a week-to-week basis. They do change from week to week. We try and identify the ones that are of major difference between the two sides. The possessions overall were pretty similar, but we had more kicks, 219 to 207, whereas they had a lot more handballs, 164 to 134. So overall, we were using the ball by foot a lot more than them. They were using it a lot more by hand, and we're basically playing the possession game. As you can see there, they had 20 more uncontested possessions. We were a lot better in the air. We took 16 contested marks to only 6. I think that was a huge stat there between the two sides. Clearances. Now, this is one area where it's a bit of a concern for us at Carlton, I think, with our midfield. Fremantle clearly had the better of the middle of the ground, and they beat us where we are normally very strong. And clearances was an area that they really dominated, 44 to 27. And I think Andrew Brayshaw just played an amazing game for his side, racking up about 38 possessions. The tackle count, this is where we, again, had the edge over them, 80 to 66 overall. And inside 50 was where 11 of those excess tackles appeared. So we put a lot more pressure on in our forward 50. Then you've got inside 50 entries. Again, we had a lot more of the ball there, 32 to 21, and we were a lot more efficient, 48% to 40%. In the end, what's that last stat? Oh, there, the shooting accuracy. They were a bit more accurate, but they had only 18 shots for goal, whereas we had 23, and hence our percentage of 43% is based on 10 goals, 13, whereas their 50% is based on their final score of 9 goals, 9. So we got enough of it to, even though we were a bit inaccurate, to get over the line by 10 points.
David, what's your take on the game?
I thought it was a horrible game of football to watch. It was frustrating. It was, but you could see that they come out with a plan to beat us, and they'd get the ball and they'd chip it 15 metres sideways, backwards, up the line.
Keep things off.
They just and give us time to get back, and obviously their defence is pretty good. So they just had a plan to sort of limit it to a 10 goal to 11 goal or whatever game, 10 goal to 9 goal, I think we ended up with, didn't we? And that's what they wanted. And they hoped to kick more goals than we did. We were lucky enough, we only kicked 5 goals in 3 quarters of footy and kicked 5 in the last quarter. So the thing I really did like about it was our never give in attitude, and I think that's been a real hallmark of our side at the moment. They don't give in. They think they can win from anywhere, and I hate to say it, but it reminds you of Collingwood over the last few seasons, who've just been able to come back from anywhere many times and hang on and win those close games, and that's what we've been able to do this year, and it's good. I'd like to win by more, and it'd be a lot more comfortable. But a win's a win. You get the 4 points on the board, and that's all that really matters. Now, I just want to go with you mentioned those, that touch ball, Vince. I reckon, it was only where it happened and when it happened, but there would be at least 8 or 9, 10 maybe touched balls in a game of football, every game and every week. I mean, whether you see it in a pack, it's hit someone's and gone through and someone's grabbed it. The quick kicks out of the middle are quite often touched because it was such an important kick. And the umpires pay them. They pay them everywhere. So that umpire didn't see the ball deflect at all, so he paid the mark as he should have done. And obviously the dissent was there too, so the 2 goals count, and that's it's all in the rules, and we'll take them and cop the 4 points, and bad luck for the Dockers.
So, David, you were mentioning before about, decisions. Like when you played and you obviously had wrong decisions. I mean, you obviously can, complain, but wasn't the coach always just get on with the game? I mean, you can't – have you ever seen an umpire change his mind?
He's never, but I always let him know about it anyway. I mean, I called him cheats at times. I didn't care what I said to him. And there was different times back then, and you weren't penalised as long as you didn't abuse them, or obviously they could report you for abusive language. But it was fair game out there in our day. So they probably got the hardest job out there in some ways. I mean, adjudicating a game that the rules change every bloody season. I mean, you just get set with a set of rules, and then they'll sort of tinker with them in the off season just to change things around, and the crowds get frustrated, the players get frustrated, and you can imagine how the umpires must be as well. So, look, I don't want to be seen to be sticking up for umpires at all, but they got a tough job. I'll give them that anyway.
Yeah, and you said it was a horrible game. Obviously, you would have been very pleased with the game of Jacob Wiedering down back.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific. I thought he was fantastic. He sort of come back last week and did what he had to do, but really stamped his authority back there. And in that with their tall forwards, I thought he was just the backbone of our defence back there, and really stood tall many times back there. And I thought it, because I thought our whole back line was fantastic, and they got some dangerous forwards, Walters and so forth, who can bob up. I mean, he hardly touched the ball; he didn't have any real influence on it. Taberner, who Wiedering had for periods of the time, he didn't have much influence. So overall, we were able to do a pretty good job. But I think that helped. We were helped there by the way that Fremantle wanted to play the game. They slowed the game right up and just chipped the ball around. They didn't get the ball in quick. So that's how you want it as a backman, really. But then you got to do the job as well. So I thought our whole back line was terrific. They made a couple of mistakes here and there, but that's going to happen. And I thought they were pretty good.
Vince, what are your thoughts on Jacob Wiedering in our back line?
Oh, look, I think, when you only concede 9 goals for a game, I think it pretty much says that your defence has been on top. But the ball wasn't coming down all that quickly. So to a large extent, I think that made life a lot easier for our defenders. I think a lot of them had good games. Wiedering wasn't the only one. I thought Sard played very, very well. I thought Jordan Boyd played very well. Nick Newman was pretty solid. McGovern, most of the time pretty solid. So I
Kemp
think
was okay.
What's that?
Yeah, I thought
Kemp was okay.
Kemp's a real enigma, isn't he? I mean, he had I think 14 marks yesterday, and if you looked at his stat sheet, you'd say, geez, he's had a ripper. But he can also have some brain fades and some really strange moments where, like my mind goes back to that one where he clearly, tucked the ball in underneath him, and then all of a sudden he threw his arms up like saying, "It's not me, it's not here." And the umpire gave holding the ball against him, and it was a clear holding the ball decision. But yeah, he can sometimes do that and cost goals for the side. But I think he deserves his spot in the side. And with Marchbank out this week, just gone, I think it'll be hard for Marchie to get his spot back there. He might have to come back through the VFL. But I think Kemp held his own. Certainly it was a game that warrants giving him another go next week. But look, to answer your question about the defence, I think overall they had a pretty good game. I don't think Fremantle kicked any more than 3 goals in any one quarter. So, that probably shows you that they've had the better of their opponents for the majority of the game.
So you both mentioned that we lost in the midfield. What do you attribute that to, do you think, mainly? Do you think we were tired? Do you think they were better than us?
I think they were better organised. Sorry, go on, Rhys. I'll let you go first, mate.
Yeah, no, I think Cripper was tired. I think he's stayed up during the week and his missus had a baby or something. He looked like he had the baby a few times. He was getting around here. But, it wasn't one of his great games, but he stepped up when he had to at times. But, and I think that's where we sort of lacked a little bit. We lacked Cripper doing his thing around there. I thought Chera was very good. I thought he was he bobbed in and he chased and tackled well too. So Carroll was sort of in and out, but they probably had the fist of it in there. Well, the one thing I was really happy with in that midfield though was Tom De Koning. I thought he was fantastic. Jackson's probably been the elite ruckman in the competition over the first few weeks, and he started off okay too, Jackson. And I thought, oh, here we go. I'm thinking Tom's not going to be up to it, but I thought he more than held his own and probably after the first 15 minutes probably was the dominant big man ruckman on the ground. So I thought, it was a magnificent effort for him to turn that around and really have a big influence at both ends of the ground.
Especially seeing Jackson had such a great game the previous week and was in very, very good form, wasn't he?
Oh, he's been in terrific form. He's been, as I said, he's been the number one ruckman. I reckon if they had an All-Australian side picked last week, he would have been the number one ruckman. So it's full credit to De Koning. The first game, McInerney, he did the same thing. McInerney was on top early, but he was able to turn it around. So he's really holding that ruck position, but I'm really keen to get Pitnet back in there, to be honest.
You really
I want to see it work. I also want to see De Koning. I want to see him playing as a forward, and I want to see Charlie Curnow up around the wing, or Harry Mackay up around the wing. Jeremy Cameron, we need to get our tall forwards into the play earlier, sort of thing. I think what we've been able to do with Harry Mackay doing a bit of ruck work, I think that's helped him a bit and given him a bit of confidence to go and get a touch, because you can get just stale down there at times.
Well, I noticed in the third quarter that, up to half time, neither Harry nor Charlie had a goal on the board. And I noticed that Charlie started to play a bit further up the ground. And eventually, of course, he did come back into the forward 50 and started to get a lot more of the ball and kicked a couple of nice goals in the third quarter and then another one in the last quarter. But, often just to get him into the play, it's been a very good move to get him up the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And he's such a great kick too. Well, they both are, really. You know, they're good field kicks. And I think if you got the Conning back there as well, it's really going to stretch a defence and or a Pitnet at times as well. But Pitnet's a bit of a workhorse as a ruckman. So, I can't wait to see how that'll work. It may not work, but let's it's going to be good to see it in action and good to see how other blokes getting up the field and getting involved in the play a bit more earlier than they are.
What about our forward structure? How do you think that worked, David, with the two pillars?
Yeah, we tended to bomb it in again. We, we really get into that situation where we just kick the ball in high. And I think I watched St Kilda doing the same thing. They got that Max King down there, and they just bomb it in high all the time and hope he grabs it, sort of thing. So, I think we've got to get a bit smarter. But the problem with the way that Fremantle played was a very defensive structure and a defensive way they played. It's very hard to turn that around. And when you're looking up and you've got so many opposition players in front of you, it's hard to sort of pinpoint your way through. So, at times you've got to move it quick. And when we did move it quick, especially in that last quarter when we had to put score on the board, I mean, it seems like, that's when we go all out, and that's when we take some risks and have to do something. And that's when we score. So, look, teams are going to be trying to frustrate us at times. I mean, they're not going to let us have, work our strengths. I think this week against Adelaide, Adelaide's back line doesn't seem as solid as some of the teams we've been up against so far. So we should be able to get some better entries in and give the a bit more one-on-one to our taller forwards. But it's still in a bit of a work in what do they say?
In progress.
Work in progress at the moment. Yeah, just getting those two blokes to be able to understand each other and I think our small forwards have been terrific though, and we're going to miss Fogarty. I mean, he's out for a week, and we're going to miss Fogarty. He does a lot of that tackling pressure and stuff inside the forward bit. So someone's going to have to step up there, whether it be Owies or Fantasia or one of those is going to have to step into that role.
I think Lockie Fogarty can consider himself very unlucky for not being an absolute star player such as a Scott Pendlebury, because if his name was Scott Pendlebury, he would have got off with a fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, lucky his name wasn't David Rhys-Jones, it would be out for a month.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I can't help but think that, there's so much inconsistency when it comes to these match review office decisions. I've got no confidence in it at all. Even
he's out for a week, so yeah, he's out for a week.
Even Michael Voss in his press conference said he thought it was just a great contest between two players who both had their eyes on the ball. Now, despite that perception of the contest, Lockie Fogarty's been given a week. Now, it'll be interesting to see whether the club is going to challenge it and try and be a club of conviction, if that's what they truly believe the contest to be, or whether, it's not worth spending the money, it's only Lockie Fogarty. Because I guarantee you, if it was Patrick Cripps, they would be engaging the most expensive lawyer in the country to try and defend it. Yeah,
look, I think if it was an important game coming up, they'd probably head down that path, but I doubt whether they will. And you're probably right there. Lockie Fogarty's not Patrick Cripps, so
no.
Patrick Cripps is a player who can win us a game. Lockie Fogarty's not going to win us a game. He's a foot soldier out there, and he does a great job. But and he will be missed.
He's a role player.
Yeah, he is, and he plays a very important role as the players will all tell you they'll miss him out there next week.
Who would you replace him with, by the way, Rhys? Just on the first thought. Who would you get? I mean, if Jack Martin's available, which I don't know whether he is or not.
Jack Martin goes.
He'd be the obvious one, but if he's still injured,
I'd probably put Pitnet in. I think.
Really? Put him on
I want to see it work. I want to see it work.
All right.
You could possibly do that and go in a bit taller, but
well, maybe big. What's his name? Is it O'Brien?
Yeah,
you never know.
The Adelaide ruckman, number 43.
Marchbank might come back in, and they keep Kemp in there as well, and
that's true.
Rotate it that way. So you never know. You can push Williams out onto a wing or something. You got a various. Elijah Hollands, he get injured too, so he might be.
He got dragged, didn't he?
He also.
I think he copped an injury.
I think he might have had a hip.
Yeah,
a hip injury. I think you'll find he got. I don't think he was going all that well at the time, to be honest. I think he was having a very average game at the time, and then he got injured, so he came off. But I reckon he might have been in line to be substituted anyway.
Well, you don't know
as it turns out
when he got the injury and how he might have been carrying that for a while, and then realised he couldn't keep going. So.
Interestingly, Fremantle made a tactical substitution with their sub, and within about 2 minutes of making that substitution, I think Frederick's 32, wasn't it? He was a very important player to them. He got injured, did a hammy, and all of a sudden they were one soldier short on the bench. That might have also affected their performance in that last quarter to some extent, but not making excuses for them. But I think that was a very fortunate bit of luck for us, and certainly very unfortunate for them.
Yeah, injuries happen. That's part and parcel of the game, and you just got.
Maybe that's why they should have waited till the last quarter before they made the substitution. You
never know.
You never know when they'll happen. Anyway, so what did you think of the small forwards, Reese? We had Horacio Fantasia, and we had Matt Owies, who was the sub for the day, and then he came on in that last quarter, substituting for Elijah Hollands in that second half. So, and of course, we had Durden playing as well. What did you make of their games and what their contributions were to the team on the day?
Yeah, look, I mean, it was going to be one of those days where small forwards weren't going to kick goals. It was cluttered up down there. I mean, the midfields were all pushing right back. The wingmen were pushing back. It was there was no room to move in there. So it was just a matter of doing your job and doing the tackling and keeping the ball in there. And it was just a scrap.
There was one goal kick that I could predict from the minute he got his hands on the ball. And that was Owies when he had that set shot for goal from nearly 50 metres out. He is such a good shot for goal, isn't he? He plays more like a small full forward than he does, almost like Lee Matthews used to do in the later part of his career. He used to play full forward like that and kick goals. Matt Owies is more of a leading... Sorry?
He used to kick six, though. He used to kick six.
Of course, I know that. He was the best player.
You wonder why he's an accurate kick, because he can't afford not to be.
Exactly. But my point about Owies is that he's not that type of small forward that gets a lot of those crumbing ones where he does snapshots over his left shoulder, right shoulder, that sort of thing. He's more of a leading small full forward type who then goes back and takes a lot of set shots for goal. I reckon you'll find out of all the goals he kicks, I reckon 80% plus would have to be set shots for goal off a mark.
Yep. Yeah,
he's a really valuable player from that point of view, I reckon.
Yeah, he is, and you missed one there too. Cottrell, was able to get down there and kick a couple of important goals. So,
of course. Him and Matt Kennedy in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to get your goals.
They're more your half forward flank types, aren't they? They're more your sort of roving around the half forward flank rather than the forward pocket types.
Yeah, Cottrell is one who does bob up and kick goals though, and he's got that pace too, so he can.
Yes.
If the forward line's open, which it wasn't on the weekend, but quite often you'll find he's got that pace to just burn his opponent off and be able to get in there there quick. And if we're moving the ball quick through the midfield, he can get on the end of them, and that's valuable as well. So he's got a few tricks to himself as well. Cottrell, I like him actually. So.
I was going to say,
he mentioned during the week, no one comes to the footy to watch half forwards, but which is true. And look, at the end of the day, it was Charlie Curnow taking marks and going back and kicking goals, and they're your match winners. Charlie, Harry, Cripper, Weeders saving it down the other end. So
sure.
they're your A graders, and they're the ones that are going to win you the matches. But your foot soldiers have got to get out there and do their job as well.
Oh, word.
Talking of foot soldiers, what do you think about wingmen? Like, I thought Elijah Hollands, I think he's a bit down on form. I mean, he runs a lot, but he doesn't seem to be as.
Are you talking about Elijah, or are you talking about?
Sorry, Ollie Hollands. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, look, I think they'll go back and they look at games differently now. It's a matter of being, they'll look at where he was on the ground. He was back assisting in the back line. He was down forward, and how much area he covered. And that's what they look at these days. It's not a matter of possessions or where you are. It's where you position yourself on the ground. And that's why it's important to have A graders in your team, because they're the ones that are going to win you the premiership. Everyone else is filling a role and doing a job. And, your A graders are the ones who are going to come out of that zone. I'd almost put Sard in an A grade type role too. He gets to, he makes ground. He spoils well. He sets things up. His run and carry with the ball is good as well. And he's not far off being an A grader as well. So we're going to few of them, and that's an important thing. And one looking at coming back this week is Sammy Walsh too.
Yeah.
I just thought of then when we're talking about who's coming back this week. So let's hope he's right, and let's hope he's not coming back at 70-80% because we need him back 100% and firing, and he'll take a while to get going, but you'll be glad to have him back.
Who makes way for him, Rhys?
Well, Fogarty's gone already, so there's one, and Elijah Hollands is injured, so there's a couple there that he can just slot in there straight away, and they'll just maneuver the team around him basically because he's such a great player.
Yeah. What do you think of Fantasia in the team? Do you like him?
He's showing a bit. It's and I looking at that game on the weekend, it wasn't a game for small forwards at either end. I mean, you have a look at Walters is probably one of the best small forwards in the competition, and he hardly touched the ball. So it just wasn't that game. It was Fremantle come out with a plan. They just wanted to negate our run. They didn't want us moving the ball through the middle. They went in with a negative mindset, and that's the way they're coached. And that's why it wasn't a great game to watch, but it was a great game to win in the end because, to come from where we were, I thought was, just showed a lot of ticker and a lot of confidence and belief in each other. So that's going to be an important thing going forward.
Okay. And what about Michael Voss's coaching? Was it good, bad, indifferent?
Well, most of the coaching's done, during the week these days. I don't think they really make it. There wasn't any big moves made. There wasn't any. I think he just persisted with them and showed faith in the players to be able to get up and win the game. And they've been able to reward him a few times this year in that area. So I think, there's nothing coaching-wise that sort of stuck out. I think, unless you give him a spray at half-time or three-quarter time or whatever, but those things don't happen either anymore. So
if he wants them to come out after three-quarter time and actually play, he better not bloody yell at them because this snowflake generation doesn't take too kindly to outbursts from the coach.
No, they get.
They'll all want to wander off into a safe space or something of that nature.
Yes, it's easy to offend people these days.
I tell you what, when you played, you would have had blokes like Wolsey barking down your throat and Parko barking down your throat, and
Oh, and they were harsh too. They were straight. They didn't mince their words. They gave it to you. And if you deserved it, you had to cop it. And there were players who couldn't cop it too well. But
you got to remember, Walls played under Barassi, and he was all full fire and brimstone, and Parkin played under John Kennedy, and he was another one that was full of fire and brimstone. So one tends to pass it on to the next, and down the line it goes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, even when Michael Voss was appointed coach, you're thinking, geez, the way he played,
Lee Matthews in him.
The way, but you just can't be like that. You just can't be like that these days. It's not going to work. And
it's all about putting your arm around them and embracing them and getting around them and all that sort of talk.
Isn't it bloody sickening?
Hey, Rhys, it's good to see that your number one fan is back. Rat Poison, daughter of a suicide. He loves you.
Yeah. He mentioned Minton Connell before. I don't know why he mentioned Minton Connell because.
Well, I think there's been a bit of humour because they've even said Chuka Howe might be making a comeback after a groin injury.
Chuka Howe.
No, because Simon Minton Connell actually sent me a picture of a footy card yesterday, and that's why I wasn't sure he knew something there, but an old Swans footy card. Actually, it was an old South Melbourne footy card, and it was a shocker. But
maybe you are Rat Poison, daughter of a suicide in disguise. Anyway,
not a bad name, anyway, is it?
It's not the best name I've ever heard on social media, but anyway,
that's okay. So, in summing up, David, thoughts
on the game, or
yes, please,
yeah. Look, I just think they fought it out, and it was going to be a tough game right from the start, and Freo. Very defensive natured in the way they play the game, and they bought their A game. They were undefeated, and that's the way they played over the last few weeks. So we had to expect that, and we had to we had to. So it's one of those games that while it was hard to watch, it would have been frustrating to play in. You get that win at the end. Nothing else matters. I mean, that's it. You got more score on the board than they have, and that's all that matters in the end. And I think they'll fly home. I mean, the first time they've won a game at Adelaide Oval, so that ticks off another box as well.
Another hoodoo's been broken finally.
And so it's funny. This team has been able to break all the hoodoos. So
it's like the Brisbane, beating Brisbane in Brisbane at the Gabba first time in 11 years.
Yeah. So
that 1 point win in the opening round.
Yep. No, they've been real good, and they've shown that never die, never say die attitude. And
can I give you a stat, Reese?
Yep.
Do you remember those two games at the end of 2022? Those two heartbreaking games. One that we lost to Melbourne.
Yep.
And another one that we lost to Collingwood by I think a point, and we cost ourselves a spot in the finals. Well, since then, in every game that's been decided by less than 2 goals, the first one was a draw against Richmond in round 1 of 2023. And since then, every result that's been less than 2 goals has gone our way. And that's 9 games. The last 9 games that have been basically determined by 10 points or less have all been won by Carlton. So they don't do that by accident. That's something that they've clearly worked on since those 2 heartbreaking losses in 2022. And to give them credit, they must have done a lot of match simulation type, training and scenarios where they go into that mode, if you like, depending on whether they're the team in front or whether they're the team behind. As it turns out, yesterday they were the team that was behind, and with 4.5 minutes to go, roughly, they needed to get 2 goals, and they found a way to get 3.
Well, if you really look at it, and we've been able to tie games down by just keeping it in and ruck contest after ruck contest after ruck contest. But if you have a look at that last play that Cottrell got the mark from, Luke Jackson was their ruckman who hit it wide of the pack. And we're able to get the kick, and he really should have. So that'll be something they'll be looking at and working on. And obviously we're well ahead of them at the moment. So we've been able to train that into our guys and work out ways to win.
I don't know about you, but when they got to that 9-point margin with only 4.5 minutes to go, I just sensed that they went into their shells a bit and started to get into that real protecting the lead type mode. And I reckon that's really dangerous with that much time on the clock. And we sniffed it. I reckon we went for the kill, and we knew we had to probably take a few more risks than we had for the rest of the game. But, you know, we managed to find the key people when they mattered most. And Charlie was fantastic, I thought, in that second half from that point of view. Clearly, Harry was having a bit of an off day, and I think Charlie really stepped up as really good players do. And you can now see why he's one of the key members of our leadership group.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's tying that game down too is not just getting everyone back behind the ball. It's more about controlling the tempo of the game and taking time off the clock. And that's what you really need to do. And you need to be good at that. And it's either you're taking time off the clock by having ball up after ball up, by just getting the ball down, having your hard nuts in there, Cripper and these blokes, just nullifying, and you're just taking time off the clock. You know, it's second by second, basically. You've just got to take that time off the clock, and then, you know, you're going to get your little chip kick backwards, forwards, sideways, whatever. Go back again and you know, use your time. You've got then, you know, run the seconds down with you know, and you know, the better teams and the good teams, they practice those because that's, you know, so important.
Vince, last comments from you?
Oh, look, I thought, you know, I was thinking at the end of the game, I was that disappointed. I was watching that game the entire time and thought it was a real pity. It was a real shame that it got decided the way it did. I don't like winning games like that. I'd rather that we got in front, even though it was off a mark that probably shouldn't have been paid. Anyway, it was paid. Cottrell kicked the goal. We got in front. There was still 40 seconds to go, and there's been plenty of games of football where a team has still managed to get up and score in the last 40 seconds. In fact, I think there was one that we won against Fremantle over there in Perth once where Mark Murphy kicked the goal with less than a minute to go to put us back in front after they got in front. So, you know, we tend to do that to Fremantle, don't we? But I just thought it would have been better to win the game on our merits and with all 40 seconds to go rather than have another 20 seconds wiped off the clock and another free kick in front of goal for you know, dissent. But anyway, you know, that's the way the umpires decided to umpire it. I think a lot of people, maybe more the older generation than the younger one, but a lot of older generation people, I think, are getting really put off by this sort of this snowflake generation where they pay free kicks and pay things for dissent at often unexpected times. I remember there was a game against GWS that we won last year over there that was decided by a dissent decision. You know, I don't like winning games like that. I just don't. But nevertheless, getting back to the big picture, I think it's great that we're finding ways to win when the chips are against us and the game's not being played on our terms. We're still finding a way to win, and that's a sign of a good team. So hopefully we build on this and it forms a good foundation for a great season. I mean, 4-0, you know, you'd think with a start like that you know, the season, the wheels would have to fall off for us not to make the finals. So I think we should look to improve the way we play. I think there's still a few issues there in the midfield. I think lack of pace is one of our biggest weaknesses still. And I think our midfield got outpointed badly yesterday. So I think they've got a few things to work on. Okay. Nevertheless, we move on and we go on to Adelaide next week.
Like Sammy Walsh back in that midfield. It's a completely different beast then.
A fit Sammy Walsh, a fit one, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Let's go to our votes, David. Let's go. 3, 2, 1.
Yes, I went for Jacob Wiedering. He's very, very solid back there and did a great job. Adam Sard, 2 votes. So I thought he was terrific and helped set us up many, many times. But his closing speed to be able to spoil as well. And you know, they're quick players. You know, he really put them under a lot of pressure, Walters and those small forwards. So he gets the 2 votes, and Tom de Koning being able to do a great job on Jackson, who you know has the number 1 ruckman in the league, as I said earlier on. I thought he beat him in the end, so he gets the 1 vote.
Mr. Vince?
Yes, similar. I think everyone can see there that we all gave Jacob Wiedering the 3 votes, and I think that just goes to show you how great a player this guy is. I mean, this is only his 2nd game back from a pretty significant calf injury, which kept him out of a lot of the summer pre-season. He's clearly done the work to get himself fit and firing again, and you know he did a pretty good job last week. But I thought yesterday he was a tower of strength at fullback, and you know I think what's that number 20's name for Fremantle? The guy that played full forward again. His name just escapes me.
Yeah,
that's how significant a player is. Tabiner. Yeah, I think Tabiner might have got 1 goal on him, but you know, for the majority of the game, I thought Jacob played a brilliant game and spoiled the ball on a number of occasions, held up the back line beautifully. Tom de Koning, for all the reasons that you said before, Reese, I thought he played a terrific game. As the game went on, he got better and Jackson got less effective. I think he dropped a lot of marks too, Jackson, yesterday. But de Koning more than held his own, and I think probably took the points in the end. I thought he was excellent in the ruck. And I gave Charlie Curnow a vote. Even though he was very quiet in the first half, he never stopped competing. But in that second half, when we really needed one of our big, tall forwards to stand up, I thought he did that. And I thought he had an extremely good second half and was one of the major reasons why we stayed in the game and then eventually won the game. So I decided to give him my 1 vote, and apologies to guys like Sard and even Jordan Boyd, who I thought was worthy of a mention.
Okay, so I went along with the group. I thought Jacob Wiedering was fantastic down back. Again, Tom de Koning, I think his ruck work's getting better, and he's even doing a little bit more around the ground, which is good. And I gave 1 vote. I tossed up about this. I gave it to Patrick Cripps, and the reason was I think he was the one that got us back into. We didn't look like we were going to win, and I think his tenaciousness just sort of got us back. In that last quarter, he was outstanding. And I think he's become a bit of a different player this year. But anyway, so that's my 3-2-1. After checking the votes of last week, I have to make an apology. I've changed them. So here's the top 5.
Okay.
So
this is correct now, is it?
It is.
Okay.
And I'm going to send you the spreadsheet so that you can audit it, Vince, right? And you can use your red pen and whatever.
All right.
So we still got Harry Mackay out in front on 21, Patrick Cripps on 17, Jacob Wiedering rocketed up to 3rd place with
didn't take him long, did it?
No. Tom de Koning on 7 and George Hewitt on 5. And now, let me get here. It is time for David's nomination for the Spirit of Carlton Award, and I'm just going to play this.
Now we should explain to our. Oh, there you go.
We'll
he's giving you a drum roll.
Yes, it goes to Matthew Cottrell this week, and he mentioned that that you know people don't go to the footy, pay money to watch the half-forward flankers. Well, I don't mind watching this young fella, and he's got a bit of go in him. And look, going back, having that shot for goal, there's a fair amount of pressure on, and you know he slotted it straight through the middle, and obviously we got the one straight after it, but it was his goal to put us in front, and he gets the award this week. And Wayne Johnson,
he does a lot of unrewarded running, doesn't he, Reese? He does. He runs.
They all do.
Is a bit like Ollie Hollands. A lot of running up and down the field and playing that role, you know, up and back and supporting the defence as well as going up forward. So a lot of what they do is not necessarily observed or even valued by the supporters, but apparently internally within the club, guys like him and Hollands, etc., that do a lot of gut running, they're very much valued.
Like Akers.
Akers is another one, yes.
Like Akers, yeah. And they that's all they do. They're up and down the ground. They're there to support the defence. They're there to, you know, the wingman roles sort of changed a lot. And, so it's not a matter of possessions now. You rely on your better players and your system to get you over the line these days. And if you have a look at teams who are winning and going well, and you look at how many genuine A-graders they've got on their list, they're the teams that are going to be hardest to beat. And that's why we're up there at the moment. We've got some genuine A-graders in good form.
Can I ask you, Rhys, before we move on? Sorry, Joe, can I just ask Rhys one other question? Is there anything that you've seen, not only yesterday, but in the first 4 weeks, because we're 4-0, you know, we've played our first 4 matches. Is there anything that you've seen that concerns you? Is there anything that you've noticed that is a bit of an area that needs to be addressed pretty quickly? Otherwise, it could end up, you know, costing us a game.
I think the one area we've got to look at, and it happens when teams do go negative against us, is just our ball movement into our forward line. I think we've got to create a bit of space in there. We're just bombing it in on top. We've got the big blokes down there, and we think, you know, they can grab everything. But there's, you know, there 3 and 4 players against them down there. It's, you know, the ruckman's down there and the midfield are all down there. Wingers are down there. So there's not much space, but I think we just need to work out better ways of hitting up with, you know, we've got the best, two of the best forwards in the competition, and we really need to maximise that. And the way you do it really is getting the ball moving quick, getting 2 ways. I mean, when you start the bounce at the middle, you're 6, and 6. So that gives you an opportunity then, you know. If you're not winning the ball out of the middle, you're not getting it down to your forward line. But we need to be able to break and get it out of the forward line. That's, you know, those opportunities when it's bounced in the middle, and coming off our back line. You know, we've got to take some risks and go through the middle and just to break it up from time to time, and you know, give the ball to Sard, let him run, and you know, if he gets caught every now and then, so be it. You know, I
noticed that he actually did do that, Sard, yesterday. He did tend to run up off the half-back line and even through the middle of the ground and started delivering the ball into the forward line. I haven't seen him do that for quite some time, and I thought that was a good sign that he'd been freed up a bit. Yeah.
And we need more of it. You know, we need more of it. We need Williams doing a bit of the same sort of work. I mean, he's gradually, you know, missed a year of footy, so he's going to get back into it. He's going to be a good player. So
he had a vital passage there in that last quarter, didn't he? He really stood up at one stage. He had a really important bit of play that he broke through and kicked the ball into our forward line. It was, I thought, a pretty important ball to win at the time.
Yep. Yeah, and he's a terrific player. So he's only going to get better as the year goes on as well.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough.
Let's move on to next week. Carlton v Adelaide. So it's next Saturday.
Yep.
At Marvel Stadium, and it's at 4:35 Australian Eastern Standard Time. David, what are your thoughts? We're going to win. Lose?
I think we should have a good win. To be perfectly honest, Adelaide are out of form at the moment, and they really don't seem to be gelling at all. They're just a bit of a rabble at the moment, and a little bit like we were at the start of last year, I suppose you could say. And while a team's down, you got to kick them while they're down. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I don't know if you can say that these days. Someone will get it.
Someone will get it.
You just got to get on top of them early and let them know that, you know, we're in form, they're not, and take control of the game early. And otherwise, it'll be a bun fight, you know, for the afternoon, and you don't really want to have that. You want to have a nice, easy win, and I think the supporters want to have a nice, easy win too.
No more close games.
You know, even Vince is getting a bit grayer there as he watches
What do you mean grayer? I've just about lost all my hair now.
Oh, you've lost it. You've gone grey. You've gone everything. So
you're a hack. You're a hack.
Yes. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Actually,
Vince,
if you notice, yesterday's game against Fremantle is the second in 5 consecutive games that we start at about 4:20 or 4:30 p.m. Did you notice that? We've got 5 twilight games in a row. We started with North Melbourne last week at about 4:20, 4:30. Then we played Fremantle yesterday at that time, and then we've got the next 3 games at that time. Adelaide, and then I think we played GWS, and then Geelong, all twilight games. So get used to the 4:30 start, Carlton supporters. No, I think are we doing our predictions for the game, Joe?
I'll go first because you think I cheat. I'm going to go Carlton. I'm thinking 30 points.
30.
Yeah,
That's
Vince,
all. Just a comfortable 5-goal win.
Just a comfortable. What about you, Vince?
I reckon we played pretty well on Marvel Stadium, and I think it suits our midfield and it suits our tall forwards. But I think we should be able to account for them fairly easily. Adelaide, the wheels have fallen off, I reckon, and when we beat them next week, it'll be season over for them effectively. I'm tipping Carlton by 48 points, 8 goals.
Ooh, 8 goals. I'll go 6 goals. Mark McClure, number 36. 36 for me. Yeah.
Mark McClure, 36. All right. So you're going for 6 goals, I'm going for 8 goals, and Joe's going for 5 goals.
Lou's gone for 74 points.
Wow, that's a big prediction.
I think you should go.
Well, let's hope so.
Going to have a few shekels on that. Anyway, which brings us to the leaderboard. No change because we all tipped Carlton and probably won't change next. I don't think we all just tipped Carlton. I think
the next few weeks after that we might see a few.
Is that going to sort the boys from the girls?
Maybe something like that. Something like
anyway,
that.
So it's 4-3-3, but I'm out in front. I'm going to catch me if you can, boys.
Yep.
So that brings us to the end of our special comments with David. David, before you go, your son has Prader-Willi. We do like to push it because you're good to us. We want people to be good back to you. You've got a big fundraiser coming up next month. If you'd like to tell people a little bit about it, go for it.
Yeah, it'll be on the social medias. I've got a Facebook page which is dedicated to that. It's being sort of run a little bit by a PR firm as much as me as well. But and we fundraise through there and have a 15 for 15 thing with 15 different things over 15 days. This year we'll be going through sort of some highlights, lowlights, whatever of my career. And
15 visits to the tribunal?
No, there was more than that.
I know, but I was going to say
the
top 15. Hits. Why don't you have
I did go multiple times. So probably. Anyway,
I was going to say the top 15 striking charges.
I got the top 15.
But
no. So we'll have more on there. So if anyone wants to look up my my page on Facebook, and they've started doing some pre-stuff with that as well, leading into the footy season. And obviously it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And my young bloke Cooper, who come through before, he suffers. Well, he has Prader-Willi syndrome and lives with that every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So
wouldn't be easy to deal with, that's for sure.
Not easy. Anyway, David, once again, on behalf of all of us here at Blue Sunday, the Jumper Punch, thanks for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next Sunday night at the same time.
Yep, fantastic. And hopefully it's 5-0 next week and we're sitting on top of the ladder.
All right,
let's hope so.
Have a good week.
Thanks a lot, guys. Okay.
See you, David. Well, he's a great bloke, isn't he, Vince?
Yes, we're very fortunate to have him. And, he's very thoughtful and very analytical with his thoughts on the game. And, I think everyone can look forward to tuning in every week and listening to someone who has a very good eye for what's going on in a game of football.
It's funny because he's actually played the game, so he gives you a different perspective and looks at a game a lot differently to the way we would anyway.
That's for sure.
Okay, Vince, there were some other games played this week in Sleepyville. Let's go.
Indeed, the whole gather round, which has been no doubt touted by everyone involved, especially the AFL and the state government of South Australia, as a raging success. We had the first game on Thursday night where Adelaide couldn't repeat what they did to us last year on the first opening game of the gather round. Last year they flogged us, but this year they're not quite the same team, and Melbourne showed them how to play. I thought they were superb, Melbourne, on Thursday night. 10 goals, 78, defeating Adelaide 8-15-63. Adelaide certainly were up for the fight, and they put up a reasonable effort, but ultimately they lowered their colours yet again. That's 0-4 start for them. We play them next week, so they'll be very keen to do well, but I just think we're going to be way too good for them.
Okay.
Then we
and
had,
the
of
next
course,
game?
yes. Then of course we had the couple of games on Friday where we saw the Brisbane Lions finally break their duck over North Melbourne, 16-16, 112, 70-point winners to North Melbourne 6-6-42.
Okay.
And again, North Melbourne is another team, one of four now, to have had a 0-4 start to the season. So Alistair Clarkson got a stack of work to do there.
Okay,
The next game was that night. So it was interesting that the scores were so similar. The Brisbane North Melbourne game was 112-42. This result was 111-42. Port Adelaide, 17-9, 111, comprehensive 69-point winners over a listless Essendon, 6-6-42. I don't know what happened to the Essendon edge, but it was like a blunt kitchen knife on Friday night.
It was, wasn't it?
And then, of course, the following day we saw some really good games where the Eagles finally showed some real potential. I think they were even in front at halftime against the Sydney Swans.
They were playing okay.
Yeah, ultimately they went down, but I thought they were a lot more competitive this time around. Sydney in the end prevailing 15-14, 104 to West Coast 11-12, 78, a 26-point victory there to Sydney, and they roll along after last week's shock loss to Richmond.
Yes.
Then we saw a really competitive game last night. I actually really enjoyed this game and felt a little bit sorry for the Western Bulldogs. But Geelong, again, just seemed to have their measure. And, the Bulldogs kept fighting. And just when you thought Geelong might break the game open, the Bulldogs would get a couple back and stay within reach. Ultimately, they ran out of time. I reckon if the game went another 2 or 3 minutes, they might have got up. But Geelong, 14-11, 95. To the Western Bulldogs, 14-7, 91, a mere 4-point victory to Geelong. And they have also started the year 4-0 to the 2022 Premiers.
And today, Vince?
Today we saw a really feisty Gold Coast Suns outfit take it right up to the GWS Giants, but ultimately GWS put the foot down when it mattered most in that last quarter and ran away with it. 18 goals, 9, 117, 28-point winners over Gold Coast, who showed a lot of promise, 13-11, 89.
Next.
Geez, there was a couple of very tight results to finish with. Here's one from Norwood Oval, where Richmond got off to a flyer against St Kilda. In fact, I think St Kilda got their first goal with less than a minute to go before half-time. And Richmond already had 5 goals on the board by that stage. But in the end, St Kilda came back hard at them in the second half and got up 9 goals, 13-67, defeating Richmond 9 goals, 6-60. So a very good win by St Kilda, and full credit to Ross Lyon and his troops. They got over the line when all looked lost at halftime.
Did. And the game that just finished, I didn't have enough time to get it up, but it was Collingwood 11-11, 77, defeating Hawthorn 11-6, 72.
Wow.
I think if that game had gone another couple of minutes, I think the Pies would have lost because
they
were done and dusted.
Tell you what, Hawthorn put up a huge fight there to come back from where they were. I think at one stage they were probably 6 goals down.
Yeah,
I think I remember at one stage it was 36 points down. So that was a great comeback by Hawthorn. But it just goes to show you, Joe, you just can't let sides get too far ahead of you because it's very, very difficult to get over the top of them. So Hawthorn is another side that finishes with a 0-4 tally against their name. And Collingwood, that's their second victory for the year, but certainly nothing very convincing.
Brings us to the ladder, which is updated. I've put the right ladder up, so let's go, Vince.
Okay. So as you see there are 5 teams all on 16 points, separated on percentage. GWS with by far and away the highest percentage of 155. All the other teams are in the 120s. Carlton's in there in the top 4 at the moment. One of only 3 teams, in fact, to have a clean record, no losses. Melbourne and Sydney, even though they're second and third, have played one more game than GWS, Carlton and Geelong. So it'll be interesting to see how it all finishes up after round 6, because after round 6, that's when it'll all be back to normal. Everyone will have had their bye and everyone will have played 6 games. So can't wait for that to happen, because at the moment the ladder sort of it's a bit of a dog's breakfast. But anyway, 5 teams on 16 points. 2 more teams on 12, being Port Adelaide and Fremantle. Of course, Port Adelaide had that big win over Essendon. Fremantle had their first loss for the year against ourselves, but still with a very healthy percentage, only having lost that game by 10 points. So they're on 3 wins and 1 loss. Western Bulldogs are making up the 8. They're one of a few teams on 8 points. In fact, one of 5 teams on 8 points, but they've got a very healthy percentage, and that's why they're in the 8. The teams outside of the 8 on 8 points are St Kilda, Gold Coast, Collingwood, and Essendon. And Collingwood, in fact, is the only team out of that batch to have played 5 games. So they're only on 2 and 3 as things stand. Brisbane had their first win for the season, so they're on 1 and 3, having played only the 4 games. They had their first victory on Friday. Richmond are on 1 and 4, so they've played 5 games now. They'll have a bye in the next week or so. Adelaide, Hawthorn, North Melbourne and West Coast, all 4 teams on 0 wins and 4 losses. And unless things really turn around for those sides very soon, you'd think that those bottom 4 will finish, in fact, in the bottom 4. Or at least they certainly won't be in the 8 by the end of the year.
And now, Vince, you know what it's time for, don't you?
How did we go this week?
No. It's time for Big Vincenza's verdict.
Oh, Big Vincenza's verdict. Well, Joe, I think I've alluded to this already in the show, but my verdict is, in fact, an extension of what I've commented on so far in relation to incorrect umpiring decisions and all of this dissent that we keep seeing. I heard the topic discussed today in certain aspects of the media, and I wanted to bring it up on our show because I've actually mentioned this idea in the past. And I think it works very well in cricket, where they have the right to refer decisions upstairs if they think that the umpires have made an incorrect decision. And I think that it warrants, especially when games and even finals chances can be determined by incorrect decisions, such as the one we saw in the Fremantle Carlton game at the end. I think it's time to bring in what's called the captain's call. And I really believe it should be that the captain can refer an incorrect decision upstairs in the last quarter. Now, if that decision is deemed to have been incorrect and the captain was therefore right in sending it upstairs, well, then that captain should still be entitled to another incorrect decision. So it's a bit like the cricket where they get a certain amount of chances. Now, I'm not saying that they should get 3 chances before they've exhausted all of their referrals. I'm saying it should be 1. So if they refer one decision upstairs and it's wrong, well, then that's it. You've got no more chances to refer upstairs. But when we see so many games determined by incorrect decisions, whether it be by field umpires, boundary umpires, goal umpires, I really believe that there should be a situation where a captain can refer a decision to the people upstairs in the whatever they call that room that they're in, the arc, and have it determined by them, because I just think that it's a pity to see games of football determined by incorrect decisions.
Okay.
So I'm one that's advocating for this. Now, some people are saying, we don't need this because we're slowing the game down already too much. No. Well, what's more important? The pace of the game or getting crucial decisions right and wrong? I think it won't be overdone. I think it'll only be used by captains where they are absolutely confident that the umpires have made the wrong decision. And if by chance the vision doesn't categorically show evidence that the umpire got it wrong, well, then it should be simply umpire's call and that's it. And then they've lost their referral. But if they get it right, then they should be able to refer another decision upstairs if it's in the last quarter. The last quarter is important because it is the quarter where games are generally won and lost.
Okay, that's Vince's verdict. Vince, you're going to be
I'd be interested. By the way, I'd be very interested in the views of our viewers. Of course, this show's all about you, so we want to make sure that we get your comments up on screen. And if you agree with me, terrific. If you don't, that's fine. Give us your opinion. Lou doesn't like it. He doesn't like referrals. He'd rather have incorrect decisions paid. Okay, that sounds unworkable. The game has been taking to ridiculous extremes that would take years to fix, even if there was what's that? Even if there was the will. What's that mean? The will or the wall?
The wall.
Why only in the last quarter? Well, technically, I think it could be in other quarters. I don't know. I'm open to that, but I do believe that it's especially in the last quarter where games can be won and lost. But maybe that can be discussed further. I'm happy if it only just comes in initially in the last one. But if people want to make the argument that captains should be allowed to make maybe even one per quarter, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that, so long as if the team's getting around the captain saying, "Hey, that was touched. We can prove that was touched," and the captain, even if he was 50 meters away from the play, gets the advice of his players to say, "Go upstairs," well, then he should be able to make that call. And I like that. I like that idea because it gets rid of incorrect decisions made by umpires and incorrect decisions made by goal umpires, which we saw in that Adelaide-Sydney game last year, where the goal umpire clearly paid a hitting the post when the ball went nowhere near the post.
You've got a few people agreeing with you. You've got
I have no doubt.
Saying sounds good.
Yeah.
Peter V saying sounds interesting. AIR saying, what about the coaching rather than the captain? Petra says
I don't know about the coach. I think it should be made by someone on the field.
And I agree with this one. I don't agree with you, Vince, unfortunately. Okay. I just think it swings and roundabouts. It's been like that. Well, look, I don't agree.
It's one of those ones. It's one of those ones that's not right and wrong. It's a matter of whether you like the idea or don't like the idea.
Yeah.
I just feel that there's too many referrals for score reviews during the game because goal umpires especially have stopped backing their own judgment, and they're going to score reviews for everything. But when it comes to important decisions like that last one, which clearly hit the Fremantle player's arm and what have you, shouldn't have been paid a mark. I think that's where the opportunity lies to have a decision referred to upstairs and the correct decision paid. Now, it's going that way with all the other sports. We've seen tennis go that way with proper technology. We've seen soccer go that way with goal line technology, and we've seen cricket go that way with their technology. Unfortunately, in the AFL, our technology is so pathetically behind the eight ball that everything seems to be very fuzzy, etc. But when it can be clearly shown that the umpire's decision is wrong and it's cost someone a crucial goal, I don't believe that should be paid. And I think that the team that was on the receiving end of that, and sometimes that'll be Carlton in the future. It's all right to say, oh, no, because we won the game yesterday. But try and think of this objectively. What if Carlton was on the receiving end of that? How would you feel then? How would you feel if we were on the receiving end of that in the grand final? So, to me, it's all about making the right decision, even if the field umpires have made the wrong one. If we can find a way to get the right decision paid, that's what, to me, is paramount.
Yeah, well, I think leave it as is. It's a bit hard because you talk about other sports. They are a bit different. In soccer, it's only about whether it's a penalty or not. They don't make the decision up the other end of the ground to say, oh, well, that should have been a foul.
Oh, no, they also do the goal line technology to determine whether the ball crossed the line or didn't cross the line.
Maybe we need to invest in goal line technology rather than
Joe, I'll tell you one thing, Joe. I'm glad you brought up the soccer because you know what?
What?
Have a look at the difference between the snowflake umpires that we've got that start paying free kicks and 50-metre penalties the minute a player shows a bit of frustration compared with what the referees cop in soccer. Have a look at how much they cop when it comes to sides giving them a bit of lip after a certain decision's paid, or when a penalty's paid, or when a free kick has been paid against them that they think's a terrible decision. Have a look at how they gang up on the referee there. Now, if they don't get free kicks for dissent, they just put up with it and wave them away and say, "Go away! I've made my decision," and that's the end of it.
They get yellow cards though. Well,
they can get a yellow card, but that all that is a warning.
No,
and we don't have a yellow. We don't have a yellow card or a red card system here.
But you don't understand. If you collect so many yellow cards, you miss a game.
No, but that's in consecutive weeks or whatever. What I'm talking about is
Vince, you need to go back and learn the rules. It's not over consecutive weeks. Yes. If you get 6 yellow cards, I think the Premier League now have gone down to 4. Once you get your 4th yellow card, you're forced to miss the game. Doesn't matter. It goes over.
The internet's going a bit funny there.
Season.
Okay, well look, I understand that, but all I'm saying is in the game itself.
It's going to hit the stumps.
But in a soccer game itself, a player who shows dissent will be maybe given a yellow card. But it's at least a warning before he gets sent off. And there's no advantage to the other team in terms of, having a shot for goal. Whereas in our game, what happened yesterday not only gave the ball back after a goal, but it was also another 50-metre penalty and another goal, 2 goals in a row. So I just think it was a real pity that it ended up being determined in that fashion and based on an incorrect free kick. An incorrect mark being paid. So, anyway, we'll let everyone debate it.
I just think leave it as is.
Okay.
I don't agree, but it's your verdict.
Yep,
so you're allowed to say it. I don't know if we've got internet gremlins. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, let's move on, Vince, because we don't want to do this. Lo and behold, are you guys having Vince? You've had a win.
We won. We got our money back, Joe.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Your internet's a bit dodgy, I think. But anyway, we had our big 6-leg win. We had a 6-leg win.
Can you see it up on the? I don't know.
I'm glad I stayed away from the Adelaide Melbourne game, the Bulldogs Geelong, and the Richmond St Kilda game. Because they could have gone either way. But in the end, we won on Brisbane over North, Port Adelaide over Essendon, Sydney over West Coast, Carlton over Fremantle, GWS over Gold Coast, and finally Collingwood just getting over the line over Hawthorn. So all of that multied up came out to odds of $4.62 at the time that we did the bet. $4.62 to $1. So the $10 bet got us back $46.20, Joe. So what does that do for our bank balance?
Yeah. Well, we're a little bit up, but let's have a look at the bets of next week, and then I'll go through the
Then
you're
going to go through. Okay, well, for next week, I've decided to stick with the 6-leg multi. And again, we're going to go for teams to win. Now, the big upset I'm going for here is in our first leg. Don't ask me why I'm doing this. Call it a gut feeling. Now, you know, we'll at least know early or not whether we're going to pay any attention to the other games. But I'm going for Brisbane to knock over Melbourne at the MCG next week. They had their first win on Friday, and I think maybe they've just the pressure's off a little bit there. They can go to the MCG and try and get the win over Melbourne. I think Melbourne's in excellent form, but I think it'll be a close game. But I'm going to put in Brisbane here at $2.80 for the win. The other teams are all favourites. GWS to beat St Kilda. That's another one that could go either way if St Kilda really hit their straps. But it is in Western Sydney. So GWS are $1.36 to win there. Adelaide and Carlton, well, of course, we're going for Carlton to win there at only $1.22. Gold Coast and Hawthorn. What's that?
Where's the mistake?
Well, I'll tell you in a minute. Gold Coast and Hawthorn. We're going for Gold Coast to win at home against Hawthorn, although Hawthorn played a lot better today, so that could be a very tight game. $1.22 also for Gold Coast at the time that I put this together. The mistake is next, Port Adelaide versus Fremantle. You forgot to put Port Adelaide to win.
No, I do them on purpose. I want you to find them.
Well, Port Adelaide to win, they're the favourites at $1.36. Although, again, Fremantle, you know, they're in good form. You can't deny that. And they may very well stifle Port Adelaide a little bit like they stifled us yesterday. Nevertheless, we're going for Port Adelaide at home. And the final one, West Coast and Richmond. Well, I think Richmond will be smarting after that loss today. I think a lot of people would have felt at halftime like they really should have won. So they come up against the team that probably before this weekend would have been considered easy beats, but they certainly put up a far better effort against Sydney. West Coast Eagles in Perth, going for Richmond to win at $1.36. So we multi all of that up, and it comes out to odds of $10.48.
$10.48.
So with our $10 bet, if it wins, we'll get back $104.80.
And so, Vince, that puts our kitty at, with a $10 bet to come, we are $6.40 in front.
And now that we've placed a $10 bet, we're back to $96.40. Hopefully with a return to come.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, we should. That's it.
Well, everyone, it's just a little multi. Oh, by the way, I forgot. Those odds that I got were off this mob. Oh, we're not sponsored by them, are we? Oh, well, doesn't matter.
We're not sponsored. No
Rocco,
plugs,
on the Jumper Punch, Rocco's got a whole segment called Barchi, and they don't sponsor him, so...
That's about kisses, I guess.
Sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah, you do. All right, so that brings us to the end of the show. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's show, and we hope you've enjoyed listening to David Rhys-Jones and a bit of controversy from the big Vincenza on the umpiring. Hey, remember the other shows that are on the Jumper Punch this week. So we have the following shows coming up on Tuesday, 7 p.m, the Jumper Punch. Wednesday at midday, Rockin' the Burbs. Wednesday at 7 p.m, Forever Rivals. Thursday at 5:30, we've got our friend Rash, good friend of the show. Hey, cheerio to Rash with the change room, Rash and Sam. Friday, we've got double, which is more basketball, but sorry?
I was just saying hello to Rash and Sam like you did.
Oh. On Friday, we've got double that's on at midday. And then, of course, on Sunday, we've got the Jewel of the Crown, Blue Sunday with yours truly, and the big Vincenza, isn't it?
And the great David Rhys-Jones.
And the great David Rhys-Jones. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, Blue Sunday, Jumper Punch on Facebook and on YouTube, the Jumper Punch. Hitting those like, share, and subscribe buttons gratefully help us gratefully. So please, have a look at them. Have a look at the boys during the week. And on that note, it's I'm just gonna. Oh, sorry about that, Vince. That's the end of the show.
3, 2, 1.
Go Blues!
Go Blues!
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. With all the champions they like to send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous foe.